Come on. It's Saturday, and Wiki Man and I are live. Not like warmed over, pre-recorded, almost live. We are live. It's about 9, little after 9. You know, out there in Oliver and Linden, it doesn't really make any difference. Close is good enough, right? When you're not having to be anywhere, don't have any plans, except maybe smoking a blunt, having a cup of coffee this morning. So we're out here in East Lind on top of the big, tall Mount Huth. We're just above the cumulus cloud that has residues of cannabis floating through here this morning. We are going to be here for 3 hours today. That's up to noon. And you can dial us up at 530-742-5555. And we'll take that call. It's not going to go to voicemail, hopefully. We'll catch it. But we may not take your call because, of course, we're pro-choice. And so if it's not the right gender or it's not the right topic or the right time to cause my career to flourish, we'll have to abort the call. And, of course, we understand abortion in this country, and everybody's got a right to eliminate what's bothering them. And so if you're a bother to me, I'll have to eliminate you. So, but we're here for 3 hours talking about everything weird and wonderful. 530-742-5555. If you're out there in one of the counties surrounding Yuba County, where we're located, and you're out there far enough where it's a little scratchy and in and out, and they say way out there in Plumas Lake, it's kind of a Bermuda Triangle for technology, and they say the reception's crummy out there. So you can go on your computer and go to kmycradio.com and just click on the Listen Live area, and the live stream should give you a clear signal. And if all else fails and you keep getting interrupted and you got a honey-do list to pull off today, you can go to the YouTube and look up this channel, One Eye Blind Media, One Eye Blind Media, and then click on Live with Lou and pick your show, and you're good to go. Well, thanks for listening, and for those who aren't listening, thank you for not listening. We don't really give a rip either way out here. We're just talking for food. By the way, we appreciate the sandwiches that were brought in here the other day. What a treat that was. I'd never even heard of this place. Santos, he drives by it all the time. He was all tuned in. So Danny popped in. He not only made the sandwich and gifted it to us, but he drove all the way across Yuba City, purchased a Visa to cross the bridge and come into Marysville, and delivered a couple big old long sandwiches. I thought, Santos said he ate the whole thing. I thought, man, if I ate the whole thing, I'd have been over at the ER trying to get some help later in the evening. But they were delicious, and Danny is the manager out at Jersey Mike's Subs out at Walmart Shopping Center in Yuba City. He said he likes to listen to the show when he can, and so I know you went back in, right? You went back in and hit him up a second time?
Yep, that I did. I went in during the week and had me a big old meatball sandwich.
You had a meatball?
Well, no, I had the half sandwich. I didn't have the giant that time.
That was what he brought us, was a giant?
Right.
That thing is dangerous,
yeah,
right
even
there.
The regular size.
You could have your whole family eat up the giant sub sandwich.
Right.
But you ate the whole thing yourself? You didn't tell your wife that? Nope. You just ate it? You went out in the backyard and ate it?
I ate it right in front of her.
Oh, you ate it in front of her?
Yep.
I thought maybe you were a closet sub eater.
No. I'm out and open.
You don't have subs like an alcoholic. You have a bottle stashed everywhere, a sub
right.
stashed everywhere.
I might.
So, what you had the other day, though, you get the Philly cheesesteak?
Philly cheesesteak, right, with jalapenos. Yeah.
Well, you like it?
Oh, it was so good.
Yeah, I think
so
he
good.
gave me the Italian. I don't know what you call it, but it was delicious.
Yeah, the Italian sub. Yep.
Yeah, and so then you had a meatball.
Yes.
Meatballs.
Next
good?
time I'm gonna try is the chicken parmesan. That's got to be good.
Chicken parmesan.
Yep.
All right. Well, that's Danny helping us out. Yeah, last week it was awesome, and he's the manager over at Jersey Mike's Subs at the Walmart Shopping Center. That's in Yuba City, right off Highway 20. I'm sure everybody around Sutter County knows that. So, anyhow, we're going to get started here. Honestly, people. These shows are getting kind of funny, actually. Incredible to do. Some days I think, oh, we should do this more than once a week. But then I think, I can't keep up with once a week. So last week, let's see, did I give the call signs? Oh, this is called The Patriot. This is 1410 a.m. I need to cover all the bases here. So if you were discombobulated and you were upset because you didn't know what you were listening to, now you can decide whether you like to listen to 1410 a.m. or you want to change to another channel. So last week I talked about some legislation that was going through Sacramento. And, of course, all legislation had to be done by yesterday, August 31st, and on to the governor to see if it's going to be signed. And there was a big hullabaloo over AB 2943. And without reading the whole thing, basically there is a LGBT, XYZ, any kind of having sex with animals, each other of same gender, gay, bisexual, transgender, wondering what you are, have sex with a parakeet. That group of legislators, there's a caucus. That's a little group for you out in Oliver and Linda. They got together, and their leader is a guy named Evan Low, not Evan High, not Evan Medium, but Evan Low, L-O-W. And Evan is assembly member of this group, and they came up with the idea that no one should ever be able to get counseling if they had a concern about their sexual leanings, and that anybody that would try to help anybody with that idea would be prosecuted as fraudulent, like a snake oil salesman. And so it's always interesting where the homosexual, the transsexual, or all the other terms, right, which I can't even keep up with. They come up with them so often. They think it's great to question any heterosexual child about their leanings, but you are not ever, don't you dare, question somebody that's got the equipment of a male but thinks they're a female. Don't ever go there. Even those, well, anyway, I won't get into the details on this, but so they were passing, it passed the Senate. And it was, even though it began in the Assembly was taking longer to pass it, but the Senate just said, we got this. So they passed it, and so it needed to go through the Assembly, and it needed to go through by August 31st. And so Dave Bryan at Church of Glad Tidings, which is typical for him, he just simply made a statement. We read it on the air, and I included it in an article I put in the Territorial Dispatch. If you want to read that statement, I'm not going to take time to go over it today on the air. If you want to read that statement, you can go to the territorialdispatch.biz. In fact, I heard the Gridley Herald is shutting down up in Butte County, so maybe you guys ought to start reading the Territorial Dispatch. It actually tells you more about the funky stuff going on up there in Gridley than the Gridley Herald would write, because when you're too close to the problem and you're having dinner with the people who are creating the problem, you just don't ever write nothing against them, right? So that's how corruption, it's incestuous, right? It's like having sex with your daughter. So anyway, Evan Low was promoting this, and I saw Assemblyman Lara or maybe it's Senator Lara, L-A-R-A, and he cheerily proclaimed the fact that he was a homosexual on the floor of the Senate, and just told how normal that was and how everything else is abnormal, and how he's a wonderful person, and honestly, he just made a fool of himself. I watched it on YouTube. I felt bad for him. But anyway, Evan Low, it was kind of shockingly, he pulled the legislation yesterday. And I got this announcement from the Brad Dacus's group, the Pacific Justice Institute. He says, in a surprising move, a California legislator announced that he's dropping his efforts to have certain types of LGBTXYZ-NOP related counseling declared fraudulent and deceptive. That's what Dave Bryan with the Church of Glad Tidings says. We're going to be counseling people whether you like it or not. And no government's going to tell us what our perspective is, because we're following the Bible. And so if you have a problem with the Bible, then we have a problem with you, right? So generally, Christian folks are obedient to the government rules and regulations. The Bible says we should be that way, unless it's contrary to the teachings of the Scriptures. And then the government has done slipped off the reservation. So Evan Lau released a statement on his website to announce that after meeting with numerous religious leaders who were concerned about the bill, he will rework the legislation for a future legislative session. Today is the last day of the year, da-da-da. So, throughout the process, the Pacific Justice Institute and countless others contacted the legislature explaining that the bill was unconstitutional. Among other things, the bill called into question whether core religious doctrines such as sin, repentance, and spiritual transformation would be deemed fraudulent in the counseling context by the state. The legislation declared that same-sex attraction and sexual orientation are normal, and therefore, efforts to change them are deceptive or fraudulent. So that's just killed it for this legislative session. I'm sure there'll be a new and improved version of AB 2943 at the next session, going after anybody that ever disagrees with somebody that wants to screw a horse. So just to hold that thought. So I just wanted to make a few comments related to this. And the Founding Fathers had a great fear of government because they had had their butts kicked by government in Europe. And they fled Europe saying, listen, we want to start, we want freedom. Let's start there. We want freedom for a lot of reasons. One of them was religious, but there were a lot of reasons. The government was up in their business on every turn. So they came to America, and a lot of them died pulling that off. And once they constructed a government, they said, we only want a government that has powers that are stated. You can't just come up with any old rule or power or right of government that you want. We want a government that has it's limited by the constitutional rules it follows. And all the other things that people can think up, that's up to the states to sort out. But the federal government, stay out of people's business, basically. So what's happened is, since that time, the federal and state and county governments have lost their ever-loving mind. So a number of years ago, I'm going to give you a couple personal examples. I got a call. I was working at the Church of Glad Tidings, and one of my friends that worked at the church, or actually she worked at a woman's friend at that time, that's a pregnancy resource center, she called me. She said, Lou, did you know that there are women that are pregnant in prison, and when they have their babies, the state takes their baby from them if they don't have a place to put their baby? In other words, if you're incarcerated as an adult, the baby, or even as a minor, the baby does not belong to the state, technically. So when you birth the baby, your relative or a friend could take the baby, right? So the word was that there was this retired police officer, a female, that was reaching out to help these female prisoners who were pregnant. And they had a maternity ward at Valley State Prison for women in those days. It's changed now. So that's down in Madera County. So she said, I called the woman, and she said, Lou, we have a lot of women that they don't have healthy families to leave their child with until they get out. So I'm trying to find places to put them. So I said, well, I'll put a note in the bulletin, see if anybody's interested up here. Well, I put a note in the bulletin, we put it out every week in the church. And a lot of women said, I'll take a baby. And so we put some limitations on it. We took children that we'd take them up to a year at a time. In other words, if the woman was going to be in there for 5 years, we thought, hey, you need to place the child with a relative or something. So we started taking babies out of Valley State Prison for women. And it was totally legal. Everything was fine. That was okay. It had nothing to do with the church. It was just people that go to church were taking babies. And just overnight, we took 20 or 30 babies in the congregation. And over 10 years, we took almost 200 babies. But in the beginning, what happened was somebody down there at Valley State Prison for Women, or the Department of Corrections, all of a sudden they realized, hey, well, what's up with this church taking all these children? We're not getting them into the foster care system anymore and making all this money after them. Because if the kid goes into the foster care system, they have to be assigned an attorney, all da. We want control. So one day I was sitting at my desk, and a lady, they said, Lou, a lady's on the phone, wants to talk to you. So I answer the phone, and the lady says, Lou, this is, I can't even remember her name, Jane Doe from the California Department of Corrections. I said, well, happy to meet you. How you doing? And she said, hey, I understand you guys are taking babies out of da-da-da, like I just told you. I said, yep, we are. And so she said, well, I need a list of all the parents and the names and address and phone, da-da-da. I said, I'm not going to, I said, first of all, I said, I don't know who you are. You said who you are, but anybody can say who, they can say they're Barack Obama for all I care. You don't know who's on the phone. And I said, I'm not going to give people's names, address, phone numbers. It's none of your business. So that started a fight right there. And so pretty soon people were showing up on our doorstep and all that kind of stuff. And I guess they thought we were barbecuing and having baby thighs for dinner, and just like eating those babies. But they hadn't checked anybody for years. In other words, anybody that the inmate put on their release form for the baby after they delivered it. They delivered in handcuffs, and then they were released within 24 hours to go back to their prison cell from the county hospital there, or whatever hospital, and then the baby went somewhere else. Either went into custody of the state, or it went with a friend or relative or whatever. The state never did double check or check any of those people. But once church people got involved, then all of a sudden, my God, what's happening? Are they like screwing these babies? Are they barbecuing them on a potluck? What are they doing? And so it was a big old deal. And then Sutter County and Yuba County Social Services got involved and started filing actions against us through the state. And so we had to hire an attorney. They filed actions against 7 of us. So what I'm talking about here is the government getting into the church's business. So I had 2 social workers came down from state social services, sat in my office and said, well, we understand you actually give free diapers to parents that are needy. And I said, what the hell does that, you care about that? What's the problem? Oh, well, now you're acting like a foster family agency without a license. I ushered the ladies out of my office. And so we had a little fight over that, had to hire an attorney. But the end of the matter was they just went on about their way. Then the legislation was passed, or regulations were passed, saying that people could not help a mother find a family for her child unless you were licensed. And, of course, we just flipped them to spiritual bird, and we moved on. And so what we have in the state of California, and a lot of states, I know about this state because I've lived here all my life, government more and more telling us what we can and can't do. Now, I told you a couple weeks ago that we had detectives show up at the church the other day and claiming that we had this is Church of Glad Tidings in Yuba City for those that belong in another county. And they said, well, you have, we understand you're housing 290 registrants. Those are sex offenders out at your church. And the guys at the church said, no, you got it wrong. We don't do that because we're not even in charge of them. Sometimes in society when you do things that are wrong, somebody else is in charge of you. Like that happens if you've ever broke the law and you've got on probation, say you got a DUI or something. Then they put you on probation maybe. And so then somebody else is telling you what you can and can't do, right? You can't drive because you got your license taken away. You can't do this, you can't do this, you can't go in a bar, you can't do this, right? So with 290 registrants, sex registrants, they are told where they can live, where they can't live. So our guy out at the church said, hey, we don't, even if we wanted to house registrants out here, the government's in charge of that. So the detective said, we don't give an F about probation or parole, da-da-da. So anyway, the guy ended up telling us that if we catch a 290 registrant out at this church, we're going to arrest them. And we said, well, wait a minute. When we opened the doors of the church, it's kind of like at the Yuba Sutter Fair. They open the ticket booth. You pay for a ticket. You go in. Anybody can go in there and ride a carnival or something, right? They're not checking people's background. So at church, at Glad Tidings, at least, we don't check people's background. If we know that we have a 290 registrant, we let them know that they can't work with our kids, and we do background checks on all the kids workers. But we said, hey, this is a public place out here. And so the guy said, well, they can attend any other church, but they can't attend your church. Well, again, that's when the detective overstepped his bounds. I like detectives, and I like police officers. In fact, I spent a lot of time the last 2 weeks with Yuba City Police and Sutter County Sheriffs, and there's a lot of really nice people there. I like them, and I like to work with them. But when people can overstep their bounds, and I don't think they know what the Constitution says, and so when they start muddling in our business, we have to tell them to go fly a kite. That's what we told the Attorney General's office and Social Services Office of the state of California back in the day when they said you can't take babies. We said go fly a kite. So I think we're going to take a break, and then I'll finish up on this topic, and hang with us if you want. Otherwise, have a nice Saturday. You know, if they allow open carry, which the Constitution of the United States says we ought to be able to pack our weapons wherever we want, there'd be less people talking over the top trash if you had your weapon on your hip, don't you think? Even the law enforcement would be more toned down. So they lectured us here a couple weeks ago on who we could and couldn't allow to attend our church out there, Church of Glad Tidings, and because I worked with Dave Bryan for way too many years to count, I knew they pressed the wrong button there. And at some point, people just say, you know something, now you stepped over, just like when the Attorney General sent their dogs down from Sacramento, and the Department of Social Services at the state level sent their dogs down to tell us whether or not we could help women that were struggling, and we help them with their babies. We told them, you know, now you're trying to you're over into our lane, right? And so just do what you need to do. Like Jesus told Judas, he said, go do it quickly, right? Just get on out and take a powder and go do it quickly. And so we told him the same thing. Just go do it quickly and get it on. And so the same thing when the state comes in to tell churches, like right now, I just, this week I got a call from a missionary up in China and on a secure line where they couldn't listen. And we're planning some efforts along the border of China. And we conversed about the fact that the Chinese now in even their government-sanctioned churches, they have government-approved churches where they tell the pastor what to teach, and they appoint the pastor, right? And they say you cannot talk to children, you cannot talk to students, you cannot talk to military people about Jesus. And so they take a photo of you coming into church now. It's a facial recognition. So if you don't belong there, you don't get in, right? And so now, all of a sudden, in the last few weeks, they've removed, it used to be you could actually go online. You know, they have the internet in China. You might think that's a foolish thing to say, but last time I was in China, in Shenzhen, in mainland China, I could not get on Google. I went on to get my Gmail, right, get my email, and I couldn't get on Google. If I went across the way into Hong Kong, I could, right, but not in mainland. And so now they've removed, you cannot get a Chinese Bible on the internet anymore. You used to be able to buy one. Now you cannot get, overnight, boom. You think government isn't taking control? So you think, oh, that doesn't happen here in the U.S. Oh, the U.S. is trying to do all kinds of things, folks. And so when they come out to your church and tell you who can attend your church service and who cannot, or you can help this child, or you cannot, or you can take this baby from this prisoner, or you cannot. That is, they're over in the wrong lane. You get it? They're over in the wrong lane. what's going on now? You heard at the commercial break, we had a commercial by Randy Thomason with SaveCalifornia.com that I included in this week's program because I assumed when we set that in there that the Assembly was going to pass that bill and it was going to go to the governor's desk on August 31st, which if you haven't thought about it, I know out in Oliver and Linda, a day here, day there don't make any difference because you're not doing anything anyway. So, but it's just been 24 hours, right? Less than 24 hours since the August 31st. So the fact is that what Brad Dacus said in his news release was some legislators, he says, expressed that they received more calls about AB 2943 than any other bill in the legislature this year. And some staffers stated they had never seen anything like the hundreds of people who came to committee hearings at the Capitol to speak against the bill. So, even though I just told you that the bill is off the table, just go ahead, as Randy said, and call the governor and tell him to go to hell. Right? Just tell him, we heard about 2943, and we wish you a happy forever. There, Governor Brown, you're out of here before too long. Before it'll probably come back again, but just tell them what you think about them. You don't have to be polite. You know, sometimes they'll say, oh, be really polite because we don't want to offend them. No, go ahead and offend them. There's no reason to be polite. These people are off the hook. Would you be polite to a guy that's doing a home invasion? No, you shoot the guy in the chest. You're not going to be polite to him. These people are doing an invasion on your liberties. They're doing it like, oh, well, oh, yeah, if the guy was breaking into our house. Oh, yeah, if he touched my daughter. Oh, yeah, if he did this. I'll forget all that. The people are taking away your liberty. Do you get, my dad fought for 4 years in World War II. You think I'm just going to lay down and let these people run all over me when I think about my father and other people who served in the military? My father and uncle laid down their lives. I got people that, my classmates at Marysville High School that died over there in Vietnam. You think I'm going to just say, oh yeah, you can tell us what to do in our church? Hell no. Just go do something with your life, right? Like I told the kids in juvenile hall the other day. I said, you know, if you came from a monkey, dude, it doesn't make any difference whether you shoot heroin, shoot hoops, or shoot yourself in the head. Who's making the rules around here anyway? One year you can have a slave, and it's legal according to the Constitution. Then you can't have a slave. Then it's illegal to abort your baby, kill your baby. Now you can abort it and sell the parts. By the way, I just got a text from Idaho, Sun Valley, Idaho. And let me just pull it up here. I'll read it to you. It says, listening to you from Sun Valley, Idaho today. Proud to say there are no baby thighs on any menus here. So those people that are texting me used to live in Marysville, pay taxes in Marysville, egregious 8.5% sales tax. But they took a little trip when we had the Oroville Dam evacuation. You know, it's dangerous when people get outside the community and see how good it is elsewhere. You know, right? Competition is good. They drove over to Idaho, and they started nosing around over there in that Boise area, and they said, oh, Boise's way too busy for us. So they found themselves a house, and while they were on evacuation, they turned a bad thing into good. They got, I don't even know whether they own a house in Marysville anymore. That's where Cal Water, I call it the Brown City, right? Browntown. That's the city of Marysville. Drive through, you say, why come all these people, don't these people like to water their lawn? Hell no, they can't afford it. They can't afford to water their lawn. So they said, forget, we can water our lawn over here in Idaho, and we can carry the gun right on the hip. And when we go down to get a building permit, they say, oh, you don't need no stinking building permit. It's your property. Build what you want. Think of that. You probably never even thought along these lines, right? Because your mind has been polluted by liberty haters, freedom haters, right? They want to take your freedom away. They want to tell you, they want to tax. Did you see they're trying to tax water now? Put a tax on water. They want to tell you what you can think. Like, oh, well, you can't try to help a troubled youth that's confused about his sexuality, right? Pretty soon the people that like to screw animals will be saying, well, you can't tell him he can't screw an animal because, you know, he thinks that's his right. It's like, yeah, you know, it's all, You didn't think we'd be doing this. Did you ever think, you people that are over 40, did you ever think we'd be talking about transgender story time in our elementary school? I was just over this week talking to Doug Eshman. In fact, he asked about your wife. And because Santos' wife used to work for Doug Eshman and at Mary Covillaud School. And we were talking about, we were getting caught up because school started, you know. And Doug Eshman has got the downtown school in Marysville and called Mary Covillaud. They have one of the highest performing schools, not in Yuba County, not in Sutter County, but in Northern California. He said, Lou, the competition was from a school in Chico, and it was a gifted and talented school. In other words, they screened the kids getting in. Isn't that amazing? And so we got to talking about all this. I didn't ask him whether he was having the transgender folks come in and do story time. He might get out his M16 or something and take care of the story time people in that case. But anyway, it was great to talk to him. He said, Lou, we got a great group of teachers. We're having a good experience here. Kids are really thriving, even kids. And he said he said they used to tell me. In fact, he said, look at this. And he pulled, I don't know where this website is, but it showed every school in Yuba County, and all their had icons, like a bright blue icon was excellent, right? Reading, math, suspensions, behavior, had all this deal. You could look right across on these icons, right? Blue. He had the only blues, Mary Covillaud. The rest of the people were in the toilet. I mean, I'm talking about every school in Yuba County, in the toilet. If you go, you know, they want to have a $72 million bond on this coming ballot, Marysville. Drive around the schools, and you in Yuba County, drive around the Yuba County schools and see all the new buildings going up, and then drive by Mary Covillaud and look for a new building. Look for any money being spent. Nothing. They got nothing. They're the best school in the county. So when they tell you, money, you got to have money, that's going to like raise the scores. Hey, forget them. They're nuts. Hey, I got from one of the listeners, Butt Hurt Balm. It's a knockoff. It's not the DJ Trump, Donald J. Trump Butt Hurt. It's some knockoff, just like it's like people do this, you know. They try to steal a red-hot product. And so we got some. One of the listeners bought me some. It says, relieves pain on those tender bottoms from being triggered, microaggressions, First Amendment, hurt feelings, evil capitalists, and perceived isms. Perfect for sensitive snowflakes. It's Butthurt Balm. And but it's not DJ Trump, so I don't know whether it's the same quality. I would think Trump's would have a gold logo. So it says here, let's see, temporarily helps relieve chapped or cracked buttocks. For external use only, do not put this in your mouth or in your eyes. If your butt hurt doesn't go away after 7 days, see a psychiatrist. Keep out of reach of children below the age of 25. If swallowed, get medical help, and we told you not to put it in your mouth. This is, okay, here we go. Now this is what's frustrating. I knew this wasn't Trump when I read this part. Distributed by Anti-Butthurt Coalition of Responsible Adults. But then it said made in India. Now you know that Trump would not allow that India butt hurt balm. That's why I knew it was a knockoff. Because if it was made in the USA with a little flag on it or something, then you know DJ Trump was involved. So Wikiman found another product. Now let me see if I can figure it out here. Okay, we're going to play you a clip on the Trumpy bear. This is a product with a bear. It's a stuffed animal with a Trump hairdo, but inside of it you can pull out, there's an American flag inside the bear. So you think, oh, this is too expensive, but it's a stuffed animal with the Trump hairdo, a bear with a Trump hairdo, and then because this is commemorating Flag Day. So let's listen to this commercial for Trumpy bear.
The wind whispered through the forest. A storm is coming. You cannot defeat the storm, From the trees rose a resounding voice. I fear nothing. I come when the trumpet sounds. I am the storm, the great American grizzly. Introducing the original Trumpy Bear, the fearless, super plush American grizzly. Trumpy Bear was born June 14th, Flag Day. Just find the secret zipper and pull out the flag blanket. Then wrap yourself in the red, white, and blue for comfort and warmth. Show your patriotism and proudly display Trumpy on Flag Day and on any American holiday. Trumpy can even honor your own family heroes.
God bless America and God bless Trumpy Bear.
Trumpy Bear sits proudly at the front of the motorcycle for all the world to see and loves to cruise with his brother.
I'm a former Marine, and I'm proud to have Trumpy Bear ride by my side. Once a Marine, always a Marine.
Everyone knows Trumpy Bear loves to go to the golf course.
When I ride with Trumpy Bear, he makes my golf game great again. Thank you, Trumpy Bear.
Simply style his trademark hair and place him in his favorite chair. Even the toughest guys will love Trumpy Bear.
When America is great, business is great. When business is great, I am great. I love you, Trumpy Bear.
I am an Army veteran. I am proud to own the Trumpy Bear, and I will always be proud to be an American.
Order the Super Plush Trumpy Bear for only 2 payments of $19.95 and receive a special certificate of authenticity. Don't miss out on owning a piece of American history. Order now for only 2 payments of $19.95. Trumpy, the most fearless bear anywhere. Order now.
All right. So you can go on your website here, Get Trumpy Bear. That's TRUMPY. GetTrumpyBear.com. Check it out. See whether you like it. We just kind of stumbled across. It's probably been around a while because it looked like it started maybe a couple months ago to commemorate Flag Day. So we just thought, DJ Trump Butthurt Bomb combined with Trumpy Bear. And you got it going on. Now, the California Constitution Republicans, they have an office over there by the Cookie Tree at Shasta. I say Shasta and Bridge Street. Let me see if I can get to the spot here. 441, I think. And they have Trump gear over there. Did you know that? They have Trump gear. Apparel and stuff. They also have Yes on 6 signs. I'm hoping they have support Cox for governor signs. In fact, they say they're wondering whether James Gallagher is even endorsing Cox. I don't know. Is Gallagher endorsing Gavin Newsom, our assemblyman? I guess it's not clear at this point. So yes on 6. When you vote yes on 6, that means you're getting rid of the gas tax and you're getting rid of the high DMV fees, right? Yes. So you're voting yes to get rid of taxes. And then in Yuba County, if you vote no on Measure K, that means you're stopping an increase of 1% for sales taxes in Yuba County. Now, the Yuba Sutter Constitutional Republicans, they started this Constitutional Republicans because the normal Republican group, they are asleep at the wheel, and they're not getting anything done. A lot of times people think they have committee meetings, they actually accomplish something. That's kind of government-like, right? If they have a meeting about something, then they walk away thinking they ate a sandwich, had a cup of coffee on the taxpayer, and the taxpayer paid, however much an hour, like $100,000, $200,000 a year per. Then you break it down per hour. So they have that meeting. They maybe spend a couple $100 for a person to have a tuna sandwich and a cup of coffee. They walk away thinking they accomplished something. They actually went to work and did something today. So the Yuba Sutter Constitutional Republicans says we'd like to actually accomplish something at the end of the day. So they've been interviewing candidates and they've been having meetings over there at their location at 441 Bridge Street. I think it's Suite E. It's next to the Cookie Tree. That's the important thing you need to hold in your thoughts. And so they are open. One of my friends out at Glad Tidings said, Lou, I went by that site. I went by over there and to try to get a sign, yes on 6, and they were closed. I said, well, they are not getting paid to be open all the time. You got to go there when volunteers are there, which is Monday through Saturday, 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. at night. They're hanging around over there. That's when to get it. Now, I told my friend, I said, I'm going to go out to Monty Hecker's place out at Elite Universal Security on Feather Boulevard. I'll tell you the address in a bit. He's got a big stack of those Yes on 6 signs, and I'm going to get some, haul them into Marysville so people they'll have more than one place to get them. And so I said, I'll get them. You can just swing by and get them off my front porch by the blue chair, which everybody knows about that knows me. So anyway, the Yuba Sutter Constitutional Republicans are having meetings the fourth Thursday night of each month. And I think this month is when they're going to have the Lavoy Finicum trailer or a preview of that movie. And I think his wife, Jeanette's going to be there. So that's cool. I mean, that, if you don't know about Lavoy, he was murdered by law enforcement under the, remember Loretta Lynch? Yeah, the Attorney General. She was in charge of all that attack on people protesting the government, like the Environmental Protection Agency and the Department of Interior, taking away farms from farmers who've been farming there for 100 years. And so they ended up killing old Lavoy, who was a farmer, a rancher. And so his wife's going to be there to talk about it, and there's a movie being made about it. So check that out, the fourth Thursday of September. And there is also going to be, they say, there's a number of people running for city council, and at the Republican headquarters there on September 7th, Mark Baumgarten, a candidate, is going to be there, and they're going to have a little fundraiser for him. So it's a meet and greet, right? Meet and greet. If you want to chip in some money, you can. If you just want to go over there and have a cup of coffee and a snack, go over and meet Mark. If you don't know Mark, for many years, in fact, I think he started and finished his fire career right here in Yuba City. And when I met him, he was a captain. That means he ran a shift at a station, and then he kept moving up the line till he was the chief, and he retired as the chief. You know, I was like 5 years old when I was over there at that time. Now I'm 100. And but he left, and I kind of hung around. So anyway, he'll be over there. And if you if you have any questions about any of that, you can call Tammy Ricard at 530-701-2845. 530-701-2845. They might need some volunteers to handle that office at night so they can keep all the literature and goodies going out, and Trump wear and Cox material and the signs for Yes on 6. Don't get confused. Yes on 6 means yes on the repeal of the road tax. That would reduce your road taxes by, I think it's 12 or 12.5 cents per gallon. And it would drop your DMV fees a minimum of $25, and some of you people that got later model cars, almost $200. Knock it off your DMV fees. So hold that thought. So these new gas taxes, if you're just an average driver, it's increasing the cost of your fuel and the cost of your operating of your car between the DMV fees and the gas taxes, $700 a year. Hold that thought. So you think voting isn't worthwhile? Your vote may be worth $700 to you. So if you vote yes on 6, and I'm going to be talking about Measure K here in a bit, but go by and get involved in the Yuba Sutter Constitutional Republicans. By the way, tomorrow they have a show on this station. If you forgot already, you know, if you're smoking the weed out there, you probably forgot what you're listening to. So this is KMYC, The Patriot, and tomorrow from 1 to 3, they call it the Yuba Sutter Political Spotlight, which is a group of folks from the Constitutional Republicans. They'll be on here talking about political stuff, okay? So you can call in and chat with them or whatever. All right, we need to take a break. The flags and the Jefferson flags right in front of the clock. All right, we'll be right back for another 2 hours.
Rockefeller helped to build them, so did I. I paid my income tax.
Well, one of our sponsors, besides the Yuba Sutter Constitutional Republicans. Oh, by the way, speaking about sponsors, I'm going to talk about Elite Universal Security here in a minute, because they got these yes on 6 signs, and they're going to have some no on K signs pretty soon. But before I get to them, remind me I don't forget them, all right? And just give me a shout out if I lose my mind. So I was just minding my own business, working at the house the other day, and I got a call from Chris Starkey from One Eye Blind Media, and he says, "Hey Lou," he said, "those I just want to let you know those plumbing advertisements for your sponsors are working." I said, "Oh yeah, tell me about that. How'd you know about that?" I mean, in other words, how you know they're working? He said, "I've been having them over here. I got problems." So he said, my wife and I said, "Oh, we got problems. We got a water line problem. We got this problem." I guess a couple months ago they had another problem. Now they got a water line problem. Water coming up everywhere. And anyway, they had, as he was talking to me on the phone, they had the plumbing doctor over there. So I thought, hey, way to go. He was all happy and everything. So we usually promote Greenitz Construction. Somebody told me, in fact, Chris said he's thinking about remodeling his bathroom. And so probably have to go to through a psychological test before Dave will actually do business with him, because he's got so much business. Did you know that Dave Greenitz has got so much business? It's unbelievable. But they make such an incredible bathroom or kitchen that you can't get people out of them. You try to knock on the door, you need to use the toilet, right? And knock on the door, said, "I'm not coming out. I like it too much in here. It's like too cool." So anyway, that's Greenitz Construction and the plumbing doctor. But I wanted to speak about Elite Universal Security, because the cool thing about it is they are big Trump supporters, and they're helping people get jobs, and they're helping people keep their business alive by keeping folks from stealing them blind, right? So Elite Universal Security, or at a .com, you can go to the website, but 7490280, you can actually get a live scan out there anytime you want during the day. And you can get a political sign like Monty Hecker, the guy that owns that place out there. By the way, they're up and down the valley here. So if you're listening from up in Butte County, you think, "Man, I need a job." Call Monty. He'd love to put you to work up there in Butte County, or even as far north as Redding. They got action all the way up and down there. They're like running around protecting everybody and their stuff. But Monty is one of the coordinators for this repeal of the gas and DMV fees, gas tax and DMV fees, and it's called Yes on 6. I didn't realize that since I was talking to him the other day. He says not only did he have the signs, but he was coordinating. He was like one of the key guys. So I appreciated that of Monty. And so you can get your signs out there. In fact, I'm going to drive out there after we get off the air here today and grab me a whole bunch and bring them over to Marysville, where some of my friends can get them easier. So, but if you want to get involved in security business, Monty can help you. You can go on their website at api-academy.com and check out all their classes, which all you need to do is be 18 years of age, and you can start taking classes on preparing to be in the guard business, or if you wanted to eventually go into law enforcement. All these classes help you along those lines. So let's see. They also have a couple for those folks that just want to take a class to get your concealed weapon permit. September 8th and 9th is the weekend where you can go out there and get your classroom study time in, and then go out and shoot it up and practice learning how to shoot if you don't know already. So check that out, and they have they have a calendar there, and then they have a whole kinds of lists of classes, and you can see some of those classes you can actually do online. If you need a live scan, 8 to 4:30, Monday through Friday. They're located at 5548 Feather River Boulevard. They say those signs are available 24 hours a day because they have a dispatch center that operates 24 hours a day out there to make sure their people get to where they need to be. So did you make any more coffee? Did you make? All right. I got in here today a little early to prepare, and I said, hey, is that coffee maker not working? Because there's only a little bit of coffee in the bottom of the pot. I thought maybe it got plugged. I need to add some water. He said, no, I drank it all. I thought, he needs to try methamphetamines instead of coffee. Unbelievable. This is just for free. I'm not going to charge you for this, but did you know that there was the IRS is racist? Did you know that? You never thought of that before? Well, let me just do a comparison for you. Martha Stewart, they claimed that she did not pay $220,000 in taxes. You know Martha Stewart, she's a cook and got decorative magazines and all that kind of stuff. She owed $220,000, they claimed, instead of just letting her pay it like they did Tim Geithner. When you remember Tim Geithner, the treasurer, the head of Treasury, Obama's guy, right? He didn't pay his taxes either, but he just said, "Oh, it's okay. Just go ahead and pay him back. It's okay." "Oh, you didn't pay yours? Oh, you're a Democrat? Oh, you're like a part of the government? You didn't pay your taxes? Oh, I'm sure you meant to. Just go ahead and pay them now. It's okay. No penalties. It's all right. Just go pay them. It's okay." Martha Stewart, she's probably a Democrat, but she's too high profile. She's making too much money, so you owe $220,000. You pay the money and you go to jail. Remember, she went 18 months. She was in jail. Did you remember that? Did you remember any of Obama's people that didn't pay their taxes? Remember Mrs. Solis, Solis? I think she's Department of Labor. She forgot to pay her taxes. Department of Commerce guy, I can't even remember his name. He was African American, like they used to say. He didn't pay his taxes either. It's like, it's kind of like forgetting to wear a tie. So Al Capone, remember Al Capone? He was a mobster back in the 1920s, and they put Al Capone in jail for 11 years because he didn't pay $150,000 in taxes. They'll find something out if they need. I'm going to tell you a story that'll probably scare the hell out of you here in a few minutes. When you realize what the unions are doing to California, you think, oh, I'm okay. I can say whatever I want. Al Capone, they found something out. They finally tracked him down, and they came up with something on him to take him off the streets. So Leona Helmsley, I don't even know whether Leona's still alive, but she used to be a very wealthy woman in New York. She forgot to pay $1.2 million in taxes. You just think slip your mind. They just slip your mind. It's just like paying your gas bill. Sometimes it just falls under the chair and you just miss it, slips under a rug, you don't know, or falls down behind the seat on your car. So Leona not only had to pay her bill, but she spent 19 months in jail. But then we got the Reverend Al Sharpton, right? And he owed $4.5 million in taxes. I don't think he's ever paid them, and nothing ever happened to Al. No, it just goes to show you, whenever you start to think that the judicial system is fair around here, you need to think it through. Now, the other person, Hillary Clinton, it's almost got to be, it humors me every time. I don't know, that somebody posted, did you see the deal where Aretha Franklin, somebody got accused on that commercial of touching somebody inappropriately at Aretha Franklin's funeral? Well, did you see Clinton, the YouTube deal? They got this singer, this black singer, nice-looking, shapely singer, and he's like checking her out from the back. It's it's not a photo, it's a video. He was checking her out, right? The guy's still got it going on, right? It's a wonder he couldn't reach up there and get a handful like Jim Whittaker over here at the. Is it amazing? This stuff. You got a guy. The Peel Democrat. They eliminate all the comments under an article about a child molester, right? Oh, we're going to protect the public from these comments. But then a guy gets fired for 20 years worth of grabbing handfuls, right? And he's still serving on the Board of Supervisors, right? And we're paying him as a taxpayer. We're paying him like $60,000, $70,000 a year, and his one of his skill set is grabbing handfuls. So Hillary Clinton, she leaves 4 Americans to die in Benghazi. She deletes 40,000 emails after she's subpoenaed. She steals billions of dollars with her husband from Haiti refugees. She sells Russia our uranium deposits when she's Secretary of State and makes money off it. It's hard to figure out a time when she's actually told the truth. And then her daughter has the gall to talk trash about the President of the United States. This stuff just like, it fascinates me. So, I'm just throwing in a few things for free today. You don't need to send in any money. All right. So if you want to get involved in this Measure K fight, if you're a Yuba County dweller, Measure K is the item that is going to raise the sales tax 1% out in Yuba County, not in the city of Marysville. They already did that. By the way, I noticed in 2016, about the time that the sales tax measure passed in the city of Marysville after the 2 tries and being funded by business and them violating the law promoting it, the city of Oroville defeated theirs. They had one, and they defeated, I think, nearly 53% of the population said, we may be poor, but we're not going to raise taxes. We're not going to raise and become the highest tax place in the county of Butte. So they rejected it. But the county of Yuba has they're putting Measure K on the ballot, and so Howard Jarvis says, Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association, you should become a member of that. I am, hjta.org, or maybe it's com, HJTA, or just Google Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association or HJTA. It'll get you there. They are the tax watchdogs, the premier anti-tax or taxing watchdogs of the state of California. They are, Howard Jarvis and Paul Gann were the ones who, and I think it's in 1978, got Proposition 13 passed that stopped the escalation, the radical escalation of property taxes that were running people out of their homes. After paying for their homes, they couldn't even pay for their property taxes. Senior citizens, after they completely paid for their homes, they had to sell their home and just go rent somewhere. So they stopped that. So then they became an ongoing organization to stop government ripping people off. So the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association says it's illegal to use public funds and or resources to urge a vote for or against a ballot measure. And that means politicians can't get involved in that from their elected or appointed spots. So consultants, what they've done is the government, it's interesting. I spend a lot of my time with criminals. And I'm having a hard time sorting out the criminals from the criminals. Like in Yuba County Jail, they're criminals, although some people say they're innocent. I said, yeah, that's what they all say. But actually, the government is actually foxier at breaking the law than the criminals are. And so these politicians and bureaucrats get around the laws that have been passed by the public to stop them from using the taxpayers' money to propagandize them to give them more money. So they hired consultants to promote the tax. So they don't do it themselves, but they give away our money. Like you paid your tax dollars and you're hoping to get the potholes filled and the cops to come to your house and fire to come to your house on time. But one of the folks down there in the Wheatland area, she filed a Freedom of Information Act request to find out where this money was spent. How much money and where this money. And they're supposed to have 10 days to give that to you. It took them over 2 months. And so I'm going to read you some ways that your tax dollars, your hard-earned tax dollars, you go out there and bust your rear, work overtime, pay your taxes, come home tired. When these politicians got it kicking back, they get $80,000 just to go to 2 board meetings a month. And you're out there working under a car all day, turning wrenches or digging ditches, or working out in a rice field or picking peaches or whatever. And so your money then taken, and here's what it goes for. Here's what they spent your hard-earned dollars for. May 3rd, they gave $3,756 to Printworks for safety mailers. They claim, those safety mailers didn't tell you how to keep safe. They said, give us more money or you're not going to be safe. Then on May 4th, the next day, they spent another $4,555 on a 9/11 mailer. That means when you call 911, It ain't going to be happening unless you give us more of your tax dollars. That was the point of it. Then in May 2018, they on postage for the mailers, another $3,756.01. Then on May 24th, more safety mailers. Remember all those surveys out there in Yuba County? $4,555. This is your tax money. This didn't come out of Robert Bendorf, county administrator's pocket, or firefighters' pockets, or cops' pockets. It came out of your taxpayer funds that they claim they don't have enough of. So June 15th, another $2,884. June, another mailer, two $2,884 payments in June. So you got two $4,555 payments, two $3,756 payments, then another $3,756 payment for postage. And then, I mean, they're multiple because they're doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. Then they paid Fairbanks, Moslin, and Motlin Metz, terrible name, and Associates, research public opinion guys. They paid them $30,000. This is the private industry. You would never do this. They paid $30,000 to interview 400 people at $75 a piece. This is your money, people. The supervisors didn't chip in out of their own pocket. Kevin Mallon, head of Public Works, did not give a nickel. Robert Bendorf, making almost $300,000 a year, didn't give a nickel. They took it out of your money, the money that should be fixing a ditch, culvert, fixing a stoplight, da-da-da-da-da, right? Painting, striping the road, putting up a sign so you know where you're going. They paid another for $550 for political data. The Lou Edwards Group, professional consulting group, they're paying $6,666.66. That's a bad number. And if you're a Christian, that's a bad sign. You got a lot of numbers to choose from. To have a contract end up with all sixes, I'm not superstitious, but some people are. That's a bad number right there. They're paying them $6,666.66 per month, December through May. People, those are your tax dollars. You think, oh, I thought they weren't supposed to use those against us. No, they're using you. So that's a total of $46,666 in just a couple of months, folks. Just a couple of months. And so the total of the first few flyers and the telephone survey through the end of May. Now remember, it's September now, right? So we didn't get, because it took them so long to get this. Actually, this should be probably through the end of June, but why quibble, right? We don't even know because we haven't filed another request. It takes them months. You have a million, you know, they just don't have one county council. They have a county council department with a whole bank of attorneys because there's just so many things to sort out. You can't just you can't just be kind and give us the information. Every request has to go through all the attorneys. You think that's not expensive and a waste of money? They got $1 million attorney department over there. So they spent over $100,000 just in a couple months on lobbying to get this new tax put through, and they claim it's for public safety. It's a lie. It's just a total lie. In fact, what's that guy out in Plumas Lake, that new dude? Gary Bradford, new supervisor. That guy is a loose cannon if there ever was one. And he didn't win the race. Crystal Martin lost the race out there for Mr. Obby. But Gary Bradford is a goofball. And he's saying that, yes, the money will go for public safety, and it's going to go into a special fund. I thought, well, isn't that special? Usually when I think of special, I think of special needs. That would be Mr. Bradford. So they're going to go into a special fund, and yes, and actually he said that in the survey that cost us over $100,000, I think it's probably up closer to $200,000 we've spent now. He says that people in the survey said they didn't even want it to go to public safety. Just spend it any old damn place you want, like chewing gum, like just anywhere you want to play. Parties, extra dining, maybe an extra per diem allowance. Did you know that the supervisors don't even pay for their own gasoline? Why would they care about gas taxes? Did you know that James Gallagher, the assemblyman in our area, or Jim Nielsen, the senator, or Doug LaMalfa, the congressman, they don't pay for their own gas? Did you know that? No way. They don't pay for their own transportation. It's all covered. They don't even pay for their own hamburgers. Did you know that? They get a per diem allowance. And in fact, if they want to even take a snooze down there in Sacramento, they can go get themselves a hotel room, and it's paid for by the taxpayer. Did you know that? And you wonder, they say, we're running out of money. Oh, my God, we're running out of money. We worked our fingers to the bone, and we can't find a nickel. We just can't find a nickel to rub together with a dime. It's tough. It's tough. It's hard. It's hard. Well, people, Measure K. So there's a Facebook site where you can get information about Measure K. It's called No on Measure K. No on Measure K. And it didn't cost the taxpayers one nickel. Now, anything you see for Measure K, like a radio commercial, a news ad, flyers, signs, those are all paid with your tax dollars, even though the government says that's against the law. Isn't that something? It's being all paid out of your tax dollars. Or they can go find somebody like a businessman like David Lanza, who benefits from his relationships with the government. It's called capital or crony capitalism. I wrote an article. Check my 2 articles out in the Territorial Dispatch. They're coming out this week. One's on government cronyism, or what I call, I call it crony capitalism and crony socialism. I talk a little bit about that Maidu situation where the Maidu Indians, or maybe I shouldn't use that term. They need to it's like the blacks. They can't figure out what they want to call themselves. Either the Indians or the Native Americans or indigenous people or tribal people. Can we even use the word tribe anymore? It's just like, first we have colored, we had nigger, then we had colored, and then we have black, and then we have African American and or American African. I don't know what we got. It's very confusing. So anyway, we're going to take a break. We got a half a show left, so you do whatever you need to do. Plumbing problem? Starts with a faucet washer and ends up with an appointment for a permit with the city. Or how about the plumber that says, oh, this is going to cost you a little more than I thought. We got 7 guys out here working on overtime. How about this one? Oh, it's going to take a little longer than I expected, so maybe you folks could, get a hotel for a while. That is not a feel-good plumbing experience. Well, it's time to call the plumbing doctor. They charge by the job, not by the hour, and their in-home estimates, they're totally free. They have menu pricing, so you know the true cost right from the start. They have a high-quality line of green products, a fully stocked service truck, and uniformed professional technicians. Now that sounds like a feel-good plumbing experience. What's better than the family doctor? The plumbing doctor. Because he can guarantee his work, and he does guarantee his work. The plumbing doctor. Give him a call at 671-9111 or go online at plumbingmd.com.
Did you know that California was never supposed to be just one state? Before the state was formed in 1850, there was discussion of forming 3 states instead of 1. California has an area larger than 7 East Coast states combined, and it takes 14 hours to drive from one end of the state to the other. California is simply too large to govern. Rural communities are being outvoted by more densely populated areas. The state of Jefferson is the solution. Please visit SOJ51.net to show your support.
Check out the Territorial Dispatch. Papers are weekly and can be obtained free at distribution or by mail through subscription. It's the only locally owned and operated newspaper in the region. The paper is the rest of the story. And also check out the E-Territorial. It's an online version of the Territorial Dispatch which features local news and events for the Yuba Sutter, Colusa, and Nevada County areas. You'll also find daily and breaking news updates, current traffic, and weather information, along with a calendar of local events. Visit the E-Territorial at eterritorial.com.
Suddenly, the Democrats are interested in investigating corruption, at least according to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. If the Democrats win back the House of Representatives in November, Ocasio-Cortez tweeted a warning, quote, "Get ready to investigate the GOP's federal response to Puerto Rico, human rights violations under ICE, Environmental Protection Agency firings, travel ban and family separation, election security and lack thereof, corruption, corruption, corruption." Well, here's my question. Why wait until November? If you care so much about election security and lack thereof, why don't we start investigating voter fraud right now? Over 1.2 million dead Americans are still registered to vote. 14% of non-citizens say they are registered to vote. We just saw in Ohio how just a few votes can make the difference in the whole election. And in that same district in 2016, 72 fraudulent votes were cast. So why wait? If you care so much about human rights violations under ICE, why don't we start investigating the mayor in California who shielded illegal immigrants from deportation by tipping them off to a pending ICE raid? And while we're at it, let's investigate the crime rate of illegal aliens so everybody knows the human rights violations committed by criminal aliens. If you care about corruption, 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 let's investigate the Clinton Foundation, the millions of dollars Bill Clinton took from Russia when his wife, Hillary Clinton, was Secretary of State, and oh so coincidentally signed off on a deal that allowed Russia to take over 25% of U.S. uranium supply. If you care about the federal response to Puerto Rico, why don't we investigate the exploitation of Haiti after the earthquake at the hands of Bill and Hillary Clinton? Why don't you ask them how many millions of dollars they made down there while the people of Haiti suffered and died? If you care about election security, why don't we investigate the Hillary Clinton campaign for reportedly laundering $84 million of campaign donations? If you care about corruption, why not investigate the Obama-Iran deal and how Obama lied to us? The pallets of cash he sent in unmarked planes to the Iranian mullahs, how the Iranians spent that money to fund terror, why the Obama administration stymied an investigation into Hezbollah to pacify the Iranian mullahs. If you care about human rights abuses, why not investigate Planned Parenthood for breaking the law, selling aborted baby body parts, altering the abortion procedure to get the parts without crushing them? Why not investigate the judge who banned a journalist from reporting on Planned Parenthood, a judge, by the way, who is on the board of a Planned Parenthood clinic? Why not investigate why Lois Lerner wasn't sent to jail after she and the IRS targeted conservatives, and why the IRS is rehiring fired employees who participated in that scandal? Or why Democratic Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz covered for Imran Awan, her IT aide, after he stole congressional computers and violated security procedure and lied and committed fraud? Why not investigate FISA court warrants that allowed the government to snoop on Trump campaign officials, warrants that were based on opposition research procured and paid for by the opposing candidate, Hillary Clinton, information the FBI did not verify and knew was not accurate? Or how Hillary Clinton lied on her campaign finance reports, saying she was paying a lawyer when the law firm actually hired Fusion GPS, who hired a former foreign spy who worked with the Russians to fabricate opposition research on Trump. Why not investigate James Comey and Peter Strzok? And if the FBI accepted the information Department of Justice official Bruce Orr gave the FBI from Christopher Steele after the FBI fired Steele for lying about leaking information to the media, and who signed off on that information? Or what classified information John Brennan leaked to the media? Or Benghazi? Or Fast and Furious? Oh no, wait. But of course you don't care about any of that. All you want to do is take down Trump. We see right through you.
All right, welcome back. You're listening to Live with Lou. This is the Patriot, KMYC 1410 AM, and our phone is 530-742-5555. And we can answer the phone. We can, C-A-N, not cannot. We can. We got the Wiki Man here, but what happens after that, we're not sure. We just have to see how we're feeling that day, and we may have to abort the call. We don't know. You can text me if you want at 530-713-1838, 530-713-1838. One of the things I do when I'm not on the radio is I run a program called the Trauma Intervention Program, and this time of year we start raising some money because we need to cover the costs of operating, even though sometimes people think, oh, it's a volunteer program. Why do you have any costs? So we have a lot of costs. We go out on 911 calls, and we help people. Like recently, in the last few days, we've had a number of fatality accidents in Sutter County. And so in those situations, we help people with literature and resources, and we train people every month to go out on calls. And we have an annual training that costs a few $1,000s. You just pull off the initial training. We have websites that we run and keep up, and all kinds of technology, phones, dispatching costs, insurance, all that kind of stuff. So if the government ran trauma intervention, it'd probably cost about $1 million a year. It costs us probably about, because I donate my time as director, about $50,000 a year, maybe 35 to 50, just skinnying by. If I dropped dead today, it'd probably cost $100,000 because they'd have to find somebody to do my job. Probably it'd be difficult to find somebody to do it for nothing. So probably it's a $100,000 a year gig here at Trauma Intervention. Most trauma intervention programs in the United States are funded. The government kicks in a little. We have an Ask Government here because of all the politics between the two counties. We serve two counties. Most TIP programs serve a county. So if government doesn't want to participate a little bit, they don't serve. But most of the money for TIP comes from fundraisers, etc. So we're doing a fundraiser, and the Hank Sanchez Memorial Golf Tournament is coming up on September 8th, which is a week from today. And this year, for the first time, they've been going for a number of years now since Hank's death. The Sanchez family's put on this tournament in his memory, and the money goes to a good organization that's helping folks, which Hank always did. Hank helped a lot of different causes that uplifted people, and one of them was trauma intervention. In the past years, the golf tournament has donated towards Hands of Hope, which is a program to help people get on their feet that are having a really tough time, and that's been a good investment for the tournament. This year, they chose to donate to trauma intervention, which we're thrilled, because we lost our fundraiser we did a couple of years ago, of a big dinner fundraiser. But as a part of our effort this year to raise money, we have there's a couple guns that we're raffling off, and if this will be the last week you can get in on this, I can put your if you want to send in money to me this week, I can get your stub in the hat, so to speak, if you're interested. So the tickets are all $20 a piece, and you can get in on a handgun, a Smith & Wesson MP Shield 9mm. $20 a ticket. You can buy as many tickets as you want. Or a Browning long gun, AB3 Stalker Combo, 300 caliber. So you just let me know what you want. You can write to TIP, TIP, Box 645, Marysville, 95901. That's TIP, Box 645, Marysville, 95901. And just make the check to TIP and tell me whether you want the handgun or the long gun. I will send you back the stub. You don't have to be available there to win. We'll just give you a dial-up and tell you you are the winner. So if you can help us out, all the money in TIP goes to help victims, families, survivors, what do you want to call them, and to train our folks to go out on trauma calls. So we do about 35 to 40 responses a month. We're not some program that you give money to that's not very active. We're very active. And we'll go to any type of call that law enforcement, fire, Bi-County ambulance, or the hospital wants us on to help, whether it's working with children, working with adults, any flavor of person there is, we don't care. We even are kind of dogs and cats. We serve everybody. So if you want to help, P.O. Box 645, Marysville, California 95901. Just send the money in. I will send you the stub back. And but the most important thing is the stub will go in the box for the drawing, and we will dial you up if you win. So we've been talking about these taxes that the government takes our tax dollars and turns around and utilizes those tax dollars to propagandize the very taxpayers that are going to vote and be deceived and pay more tax dollars. And to show you how perverted this is, down in San Diego this last week, Caltrans workers were stopping traffic at a stop sign. They were working on the roads, and they were slowing traffic down. And while some of them worked, others were handing out no on Prop 6 campaign literature to cars. Did you see that? Yeah. And from 9 to noon 30, that's what was going on. And it was creating 15 to 25-minute delays. And people took photographs, as people do nowadays, of this crazy stuff going on. So what you're seeing is, we've been warned about this for years. Once Jerry Brown allowed, and of course it happened now at the federal government as well, the government employees to unionize. Basically, they are running California. Now, you have these political figureheads that you think are running it, Governor Brown and the rest of them, but they're not. They're being told what to do basically by the unions, whether it's CalPERS, whether it's Caltrans. You notice when we realized that there were 3,500 workers we didn't even need to be working. In other words, if they all dropped dead or fell off a cliff or got Ebola, you wouldn't even miss them, right? In other words, have you ever noticed at work, it's always interesting when somebody takes a lot of time off and you realize you don't even miss them? That's a bad sign right there. So when the Legislative Analyst's Office did an audit of Caltrans and realized 3,500 people were just sitting around all day, Governor Brown did not lay anybody off. Did you ever wonder why? That's because the unions are calling the shots, because they now are running this whole thing. And so Caltrans says, we want that money, that SB1 money, that's the road tax and DMV money, because that is going to give us an increase in pay. Did you know that Governor Brown, I wrote about it last week, it's in the newspaper right now, territorialdispatch.biz. Governor Brown raised the pay almost 10% on all engineer and planners for Caltrans, and they're getting incremental increases for anybody that's been working there. On top of what I just said, on top of that, at July of each year for several years now, if you've been there for 20, 21, 22, 23, 24 years, you're getting incremental increases to keep you there, even though they're overstaffed. Even though they're overstaffed. So anyway, the Caltrans is down there ripping people off on their government time. Did you know that union workers have in their contract that a certain amount of their time can be used not working for the public, but just propagandizing doing union business? Did you know that? I'm going to talk about that later if we can jam it in. But Trump curbed that back, but I mean, it's like a third of their time can be spent on just doing union business, and the taxpayers paying for it. Now, the government code is 8314. It declares it is unlawful for any elected state or local officer, including any state or local appointee, employee, or consultant, to use or permit others to use public resources for a campaign activity. Now, I don't know. If you're an attorney, there's a loophole there somewhere. But me just being an old simpleton, like I just made it out of high school and dropped out of college and then did a lot of drugs. So I know I'm missing it, and that things are fuzzy for me, and things fall through my brain, and I got to keep putting them in there to hold on to them. Let me just read it again, and I'll read it all the way to the end. It is unlawful for any elected state or local officer, including any state or local appointee, employee, or consultant, to use or permit others to use public resources. That would be your tax dollars, folks, or a government car, or being on their computer doing political stuff, right? Or being on the phone talking political crap on your time, on my time. Using public resources for a campaign activity or personal or other purposes which are not authorized by the law. And basically, Yuba County and all these other people, City of Marysville, did the same thing. The hell with that. We're the government. We choose whether we want to obey the law or not. We don't have to obey the law. So the gas tax, the 12.5 cents gas tax per gallon, and the DMV fees, and the 20 cents per gallon. If you got a diesel car, you're paying 20 cents more tax on that. The estimated cost is $700 or more per family on Prop 6 issue. $700 or more. So when you vote yes on 6, you're saying, I don't want to pay that tax anymore. I want to repeal it. Yes is to repeal. It's a little confusing. You'd think you'd say no, but you got to vote yes to repeal. $700 or more per average family per year. Think about businesses that are hauling stuff all day. UPS, FedEx, all these people. Think about those. $175 a year for the DMV fee. You know, all that tax goes into the general fund. Do you think did you think they were going to use it on roads? No. We're like saving the rodents, a particular rodent that we need to save. Some of those rodents are called union reps, union representatives. They get the money. All these taxes, we're going to have to tax the water. We're going to have to get rid of the Prop 13 property tax. That's going to be on the ballot. They're going to try to get rid of Prop 13 protections for commercial property. You know what all this is for? It's not that there's a shortage of taxes. They can't afford the pensions. And I'm going to talk about that hopefully before we get done today as well. They cannot afford the pensions. It's breaking the state. Instead of changing the pensions, you'd think they just, in your life, when you realize you've screwed up real bad, you started using methamphetamines, you're drinking too much wine at night, you're eating way too much, you gained 150 pounds since high school. Usually, people that survive change their ways. But when you have third-party people benefiting, like the unions, politicians, somebody's got them by their junk, and they ain't going to let them go. Or they're going to lose everything. They're going to lose the election because the government, the unions, are going to take them down. You think, the unions are nice people. My neighbor works for the union. He's a really nice guy. He just works for the union. Yeah. Right? So you think, that's all there is to it, the unions. Well, let me tell you a little story. I'll see if I can jam this in. This happened in Costa Mesa. A few weeks ago, Costa Mesa Police Association, in parentheses, just think of police union, and their former law firm agreed to pay $607,000 to settle a lawsuit. Now you think, what would that be? My goodness, what would that? Why would a police have to settle a lawsuit? It had to do with a scheme against 2 Costa Mesa city councilmen. The settlement represents a small victory, it says, in the broader philosophical war between California public employee unions, unquenchable demand for more, and a handful of public officials willing to stand up and say there's simply no mo to give. The plot that eventually led to the settlement sounds like a setup for a novel, but everything you're about to read or hear is absolutely true. On August 22, 2012, a private investigator, Chris Lanzillo, or some gringo might say Lanzillo, who was employed by the police union's law firm. Now, I want you to think of it. The police union has a law firm. They employed a special investigator to tail 2 city councilmen in hopes of digging up dirt on them for use against them in the upcoming November elections. Why? Why would they do that? Because they were going to vote to cut pensions, change the pensions. The 2 city councilmen were in the police crosshairs because they were trying to cut back on pensions and benefits. The city had a $5.1 million budget deficit that year, and the offending people proposal was to reduce retirees' pension from 90% of their salary at age 50. In other words, at age 50, if you had 30 years in, you could quit and get 90% of their pension until you dropped dead. And they wanted to reduce that by 9% to a mere 81% of their pay, but they had to work an extra 5 years. So 81% at 55 versus 90% at 50. The same year, Costa Mesa had 99 employees who earned more than $200,000 apiece. You wonder why we're going broke. So, pension and benefits are the crucifix of California politics. Anyone who crosses that, Democrat or Republican, is going to be taken down by the unions. Threatening to reduce pensions and benefits is the mortal sin for a public official to commit. They can't utter those words. They will be taken down. Forgiveness, you know, the Catholics at one time in their history, if you really screwed up, you did the big sin, you could pay your way out. They called it indulgences. You just chip in a little to the big dog, and he says, he did the sign of the cross, and you're washed clean. You can do that with almost anything else. But if you mess with the pensions, you're out. So here's what happened. The law firm, Lackey, I love that name, Lackey. Who would want that name? Joe Lackey. Lackey, Dan Meyer, and McGill, well known for its hardball tactics, had grown a considerable practice representing police unions. At the height of its influence, the firm represented 18 of the 39 police unions in Orange County. In other words, their tactics were widespread, and what happened in Costa Mesa wasn't unique or out of the ordinary. Costa Mesa's union lawyers were brash about their success, so much so that they published a how-to guide for pressuring and intimidating city councils. The title of it was The Playbook. Comparing its recommendation to the use of force guidelines that the police learn, the playbook suggested their union clients start with verbal commands and then jump to a higher level if the situation with the elected officials did not progress to their liking. The playbook recommended stormy council meetings and public events to chastise officials. Focus on city managers, it said, council people, mayor, the police chief. The playbook recommended, and keep the pressure up until the person assures you his loyalty, and then move on to the next person. So, the public employee pensions have come to the point in every city across the state where there are millions and millions of dollars at stake. And I'm telling you, public employees, even though they're making $200,000 a year, I'll be damned if we're going to give you a nickel back. Last year in California, more than 62,000 public employees retired with six-figure payouts. Seven people pulled down more than $1 million in pension payments per year. All of those people I just mentioned to you are all police and fire. We love police and fire, don't we? Why don't we just give them all $1 million apiece a year? How about $500,000? So Chris Lanzillo, he's the investigator. On the evening in question, Lanzillo followed the 2 city council members. They went to a bar to have a drink. The bar is actually owned by a third member of the Costa Mesa Council. There, the private investigator watched while one of the councilmen, Jim Rigmeyer, had 2 drinks, got in his car, and drove home. 7 minutes after Righeimer got home, his wife told him there was a Costa Mesa police officer at the door. Righeimer immediately knew something was wrong, went to the door. The guy was the DUI ace of the department. He asked Righeimer to step outside. Righeimer was told that someone saw him driving erratically on the way home. Righeimer confirmed that he had just gotten home from the bar, but told the officer he didn't have anything to drink, didn't have any alcohol to drink. He actually drank 2 drinks, but they were Diet Coke. He later produced the receipt to prove it. Nevertheless, he had to perform a sobriety test in front of his wife and 3 little girls, 6, 8, and 10. The city councilman passed the test. When the officer left, Righeimer saw him go up the street a short distance and talk to the investigator in a little white Kia. Righeimer knew he'd been set up. The next day, he went to the press with what had happened. When the 911 call that reported him driving erratically became public, his suspicions were confirmed. They also set up the other guy with a gal that was less than Christian about her sexual behavior and tried to make some moves on him in the deal. He wasn't interested, so they sued the Costa Mesa Police Association, which is essentially the union. It is the union. And the former law firm, they agreed to pay $607,000 to the 2 city councilmen. This is the type of tactics we're facing here in the Yuba Sutter area. And so don't be shy if it gets a little rough out there. Be right back. All right. If you wonder why we're going broke, it's because we're spending too much. It's not because we aren't earning enough. Sometimes people, when they used to come to me for counsel when I worked for the Church of Glad Tidings about finances, sometimes they actually needed to earn more. But a lot of times people just couldn't get control of their spending, right? That was the major problem. So what you hear in these counties is we're bringing in more money. Since the downturn in the economy in 2007, we're coming back. Each year we're bringing in a little bit more money. However, the cost of doing business, that's a favorite phrase of Robert Bendorf. He said the cost of doing business is going up every year. That's a euphemism. It's kind of like a euphemism of Planned Parenthood or Planned Family being a euphemism or another term or nicer way to say we stabbed the kid in the back of the neck as he came out of the womb and got rid of him, right? So the euphemism is business costs are going up, means that we can't afford to pay for pensions that the unions twisted the arm of politicians to get. Pensions and salaries and health. We can't afford to pay them, even though we promised them to these folks. And so, when we say pensions, a lot of you folks that work in the private sector out there think, oh, well, they're pensions just like me. I set aside some money. No, they didn't set aside any money. In fact, a lot of people like Scott Mitnick over here in Sutter County, the CEO of Sutter County, the taxpayers pay his entire pension contribution, and he gets all the money back. You'd think he'd share it with us when he got it back, but no, he didn't pay anything into his pensions, and then he's going to get a couple $100,000 a year. Right? What do you think about that? Think that's fair? I don't think it's fair. And so when we pay people $200,000, $300,000 a year, that's a lot of money, right? And you're going to pay that for the rest of their lives. Did you see? I said there's a couple police and fire guys down there in Costa Mesa area or in Southern California that are getting $1 million a year. 99 guys and gals get over $100,000 a year. In Costa Mesa. They're on salary for doing that. Now I want to give you an example. Jerry Brown is leaving office. So what they do when they leave office, they're lame duck. So any decision they make, you can't get back at them because they're leaving office. It's over. So whether you like it or not, they get out their pencil and pen and they just tell people what to do. And so and they also, all their staff that's been loyal to them, they take care of them. They get them new jobs in government, right? You think you try to get a job in government, you apply. But, once you work for they got you covered. In other words, if you work for one of these big dogs, they'll get you a job somewhere else. Like, for instance, James Gallagher, right, down there at the Assembly. Now, his sister-in-law, I think she works for Amanda Hopper over at Sutter County. Now, I don't know whether James had anything to do with that or not, but you get into a certain place, they just get you a job. Now, catch this. CalPERS, the pension company, I don't know what person in their right mind would want their pensions to be managed by the state of California when you got DMV organizations, you got to wait hours to go in and get your picture taken and a license made. But Jerry Brown, he convinced CalPERS to hire his chief financial officer, Michael Cohen. Now, CalPERS can't keep a chief financial officer. They keep quitting or getting fired. So this is the third one in 14 months. Now, think about it. If you were going in a restaurant and they went through 3 managers in 14 months, would that be a little freaky for you? Well, Michael Cohen is going to take one of the top executive jobs, in other words, one of the top, at the $360 billion pension fund called CalPERS. So I was wondering, I wonder what he's going to get paid, right? But it didn't stop there. Governor Brown liked Michael Cohen so much that he not only got him appointed to CalPERS, which is run by the union, by the way, which is that's a scary thought. He also appointed him to the University of California Board of Regents. Those are the people that are like a school board over the University of California system. So they hire the chancellors and the presidents and all that of all the California campuses, right? UC campuses. So I looked it up. You know, I'm nothing special. I just looked it up, right? So I wondered how much he's going to get paid. In April 16th of 2018, the previous guy that had his job, who falsified his resume, so they're getting rid of him. That's why he's leaving so soon. He was getting paid $275,000, that guy. So we'll figure Michael Cohen is not going to take a reduction in pay. He's going to get at least that. But he also got appointed to the Board of Regents of the University of California. Now, the new salaries for the 15 Board of Regents, there's like, I think there's 26 Board of Regents. There's 26 people that sit on the Board of Regents. It's a huge group. So one range of 15 that were appointed run from $231,750 for Ann Shaw. She's chief of staff for the Board of Regents. So maybe she gets extra, right? So let's just say they get $220,000. But the top person of the Board of Regents makes almost $1 million. Does that blow your hair back? $991,942 for Mark Lorette. He's chief executive of the UC San Francisco Medical Center. So he's on the Board of Regents and the Medical Center. So they combine that all together and they say that dude's $1 million employee. So there you have it. So most of those that are at the minimum wage, just call it the minimum wage for the Board of Regents is like $225,000. Let's just say that. Just so I like to err on the side of undershooting. I don't like people say I exaggerate. So, or people like, what's his name over at Yuba County? Says I got my facts wrong. Russ Brown said, you got your facts wrong. Why don't you ever get your facts right? I said, well, why don't you just print it in the paper, put it out there in the paper for all to see? Like, how come we got to do a Freedom of Information Act? Why don't you just put that all in the paper on how much you spent for all those surveys and flyers and $75 for a phone call and put it all in there for everybody to see if you're so darn proud of it? But no. They'd rather criticize me. So my best guesstimate is Michael Cohen, who served faithfully Governor Brown and helped him. He was the state finance director on the budget and stuff. My best guess is that boy is going to be making over $500,000 a year working for those two entities. Now, it isn't a full-time job being on the Board of Regents. Neither is it a full-time job being a supervisor or a school board member. But he's going to work for CalPERS. Now, if you're wondering why we're going broke in the state, it's because people are getting paid more than Solomon got paid running the whole Israel back in the days when he's the richest guy in the world. So that's why we're going broke. And the union is running CalPERS. Now, do you think CalPERS is going to reform itself? No. Nobody's making any changes. That's why there's a pressure at the local level to jerk more money out of you. And unless you say no on Measure K, and just like Oroville did a couple of years ago, the city of Oroville in 2016, just, I looked on the ballot argument, and all the the head of the police up there in Oroville and the mayor and all those were for the tax. One couple, just two people, a male and female, one couple, wrote an opposition argument, and they defeated that thing up there in Oroville, 53% against it. Unless we take control at the local level and push back, we are screwed in California. You think, it's gonna all work out? No, it ain't gonna work out. In fact, I was thinking maybe we ought to put a warning coming over that new bridge that they're building when we drive over it, and just say you better knock it down into first gear on your car or low, because when you hit those streets in Marysville, it's going to knock your wheel out. Did you see I-5? They blew out the tires, all those cars going down I-5. It's just like, hey, the government says you don't give us your money, screw your cars. They'll just blow up. We'll just leave a gap in the road. You think they can't do that? They're doing it. You think they can't come out and tell you at your church who can come to your church, who can't? They say, you can't have that church. Those people, they cannot come to your church. Oh, really? They can do that. They did it. You think, they'd never do that. No, they already did it. They already did it. So what's going on here is they're just going to keep pushing, taking. So on the next ballot, they're going to challenge Proposition 13. A lot of you are going to vote to remove it. You're crazy. You're absolutely crazy. And it isn't an issue that they need any other money. They're going to try to put a tax on water. Did you know that? And they're actually going to suggest it's a voluntary tax. And just going to be $1 a piece, right? $1 a piece a month. You think they say they need to raise $100 million to clean up some water around. How many times do you think you're going to vote for a water bond where they say this same thing? Do you think $100 million is a lot? Do you know how much the budget was? It wasn't millions. It was 139 billion. 100 million? Maybe you don't know your numbers. I'm not too good at math either. I'm not picking at you. $100 million is chump change when you start dealing with 139 billion. So that's 0.10%. That's not even 1%. That's 0.1% of the budget. They say they can't afford to clean up the water with the money we're already giving them. What do you think you pay taxes for? Do you notice that the taxes now you pay don't really cover anything? They have to have a special tax anytime they want to do things. Oh, we got to repair the roads. We got to have a special tax. We got to have water resources. Oh, we got to have a special tax. Oh, we have to fight the swine flu. We got to have a special tax. Oh, we have to build up a school. We have to have a special tax. The taxes, what do the taxes go for? They're going for unions. Huge union. You look at the people running the unions, making fantastic money, right? And all the money they spent lobbying. It's totally corrupt. The fact that unions are running our country is anti-constitutional. It's unconstitutional. They don't need this money. They have plenty of tax money to take care of all the water resources. Do you know that for the first time in the history of the world, which will include the history of the United States, Texas, one of the biggest oil-producing states in the Union, is exporting more than it's importing. Did you know that? It's a huge boom in Texas. People are working their rears off, making a lot of money. We could be doing the same in California, but the environmentalists will not allow us to draw oil out of the soil here. And so we have to import fuel and oil into California. We have to bring it in by pipe, rail, or boat to use to run in our refineries. Right? It's totally ridiculous. We have more money, more resources in California, but the liberals will not allow us to use it. So when they ask for more money, it's a lie. They lie to you, right? And then they send government employees out. Do you ever wonder when you see all these demonstrations, union people out demonstrating, where do they get all the time to do that? I don't have time to go out and demonstrate. Like people are always wanting to say, go down and protest at front of the Planned Parenthood on Pelora Avenue against killing babies. We're going to go and we're going to protest this. We're going to stand up for this. We're going to go over here and do this. I think, how do people get all this time? Well, when the unions protest, they are paid. Did you know the Occupy Wall Street and Antifa and the Ferguson riots, a lot of those people were paid. Did you know that? Well, that's just the truth. You just never sorted through the details. Oh, by the way, I can't let this McCain funeral go. Do you think that have you ever seen such a hoopla over a senator dying in your life, McCain? Oh my God, John McCain. I looked at a deal on YouTube. Is his name Bud Day? His name's Bud Day. He was a roommate for McCain, and he described all the wonderful things that McCain did to try to keep Bud Day alive because he was busted up. McCain was busted up, and but since McCain became a senator, I couldn't stand the guy. You say, "Oh, Lou, you can't." I forget it. I've done all kinds of funerals. They said, "Lou, who would want you to do their funeral?" I asked the same question. People ask me, "Will you do this funeral?" And what I notice about people is we lose our mind at funerals. Right? The guy could have shot 4 people, raped 3 women, burned down a couple houses, but when we bury him, the guy's the most wonderful guy. The guy was a Boy Scout. He sold cookies for the Girl Scouts. He was a wonderful guy. We praise these people, and the guy was a total hoodlum, right? So McCain, I was thinking about Sarah Palin. She's here minding her own business. She was a maverick up there and well known in Alaska as a governor that helped the state. And so he goes and recruits her, and she actually brings in more votes than he does. And then they call her a scumbag later on and said he wished he wouldn't ever chose her. And then, it's to me, this is a funny thing. Funerals are something you probably should go to if you know the people out of respect, right? But when these big shots die, then you got to get invited or something like that, right? I thought, hey, screw it, man. I'm glad I wasn't invited or not invited. I don't care about it. I'd rather do a radio show than go to his funeral. In fact, Billy Clinton's probably over there looking at some gal's rear, right? I mean, what kind of a deal do we got there? So they make a big deal about it, rejecting. They don't invite his former running mate. I thought, something? These people are operating on a different level of morality than me. So let me just say what I like Sarah Palin. I don't care what her politics are. She could be a socialist. I like her. Listen to what she said. This is a person I'd like to go have coffee with because I don't drink adult beverages or shoot methamphetamines. John McCain was my friend, she said. This is after they disrespected her and told her she's a piece of crap. That's McCain's style. John McCain was my friend, she said. I will remember the good times. My family and I send prayers for Cindy and the McCain family. Not bad, right? Now, if Trump would have said that, he would have got trashed in the media. So, people, anyway, let me, says Palin never took offense at any of the things that were said about her by the McCain people. Like, we wish we'd have chosen Joe Lieberman instead of her. She was a big pain in the rear. Said Palin never took offense and always honored John McCain. Even after being excluded from the funeral, she declined to criticize him. People magazine quoted a source close to the Palin family. Quote, out of respect for John McCain and his family, we have nothing to add at this point. The Palin family will always cherish their friendship with the McCains and hold their memories dear. I would just like to say, I do not have that kind of fond feeling for John McCain. Am I sad that he got shot down and suffered? I've suffered a little bit in just physical ailments in my life, right? Had a few operations. Nothing compares to the torture and broken bodies that prisoners of war had crashing airplanes. Bud Day was the most decorated guy, I think, in Vietnam. I think he had like 70. You can see him on YouTube. Amazing guy. Still alive, I think, today. I hope he is anyway. But maybe 70, 80 heroism type medals. But he was roommate with John McCain and had great things to say about how they nursed each other back to health, both badly beat up. However, that's that. And the way you treat other people, he treated people horribly as a senator, and the very fact that Barack Obama would take advantage to speak at his funeral is a really bad sign. And he disrespected people routinely, was rude, harsh, was no help to the conservative movement in the United States. So that's that. Somebody, I don't know why people contact me, but I had a business person in town. She contacted me, said, what's up with the flag not being lowered at Plumas Street on Highway 20 or whatever? And she said, I'm not necessarily into McCain's politics, but we should at least lower the flag. It's interesting. There are protocols in certain government jurisdictions on when to lower the flag and for what reasons. So, for instance, people die in Yuba Sutter every day, and we don't lower the flag. It's interesting. People drop dead, flag stays right where it is. Occasionally, there's certain reasons why the flag gets dropped down, half-mast, right? And so there are rules for that. That's what I explained to the lady. And I said sometimes it's a logistical problem. In other words, if a big flag has to be lowered by the fire department, they got to have the day available. Anyway, it's this big hullabaloo about McCain and all the sensational stuff is Democrats trying to take their thumb and put salt on it and push it into the eye of the conservative movement, and particularly the guy who happens to be president of the United States, which has become so routine of people disrespecting him and quote unquote the office. In fact, if you say, like I heard Tiger Woods said, hey, we should respect the office, he immediately is written off as an Uncle Tom, right? So there's that. All right. So interesting, this week, In-N-Out Burger, big news, they donate 25 or 30 grand to the Republican Party. The Republicans' immediate knee-jerk reaction is we need to buy 100 burgers apiece. The In-N-Out people have supported both sides for years, Republicans and Democrats, right? In fact, I always heard it's a Christian organization. May or may not be. They got scriptures. Not many people put scriptures on some of their paraphernalia in there. I've never, somebody showed me something one day about it. To me, I ate there a while back. It was good. You like fast food. It's like, hey, pretty good burger. And I like the employees. Employees are well trained and they're nice. But so they give some money to the Republican Party, but David Townsend founded the operation, and he identifies as a centrist Democrat. So, what this reveals, this In-N-Out controversy, it reveals that it's the old carpet bomb philosophy of the left. If you give to everybody, you can either give to Democrats or liberal causes, but you cannot give to both. They will destroy you. You have to give to liberal causes, liberal cause only. If you vary from that, they'll kick you off the plantation. That's just the way that is. And I think that's the lesson here for the politics of it. But some of the Republicans are jumping on the bandwagon. We need to run over and we need to save In-N-Out Burger. Well, so be it. You like the burgers? Go buy a bunch. I think everybody, like happened with Chick-fil-A, right? Chick-fil-A stands up for heterosexual marriage. That's it. We're going to eliminate Chick-fil-A, bomb them off the map. We can't have a Chick-fil-A in Marysville because they're not supportive of transsexuals, right? So anyway. Oh, did you hear that the other thing that Jerry Brown is doing, besides giving his chief of finance cush jobs, earning about $500,000 a year between the Board of Regents and CalPERS, he's now commuting sentences, pardoning and commuting. So this month alone, he issued 67 pardons and commutations, and it's it's like the ruler extending mercy, right? So he gave an outright pardon to a 42-year-old Fresno man from Cambodia who was convicted of murder in 1994 for shooting a gang rival. Like, I think, hey, well, a gang member, he's less than human, so let's just shoot the dude. It's okay. But the key thing here is, hold this thought, he was facing deportation from President Trump. So that's a thumb in the eye of Trump. Like, even though he killed a guy, we're going to let him off and just show you he's not really a criminal anymore, so you can't get rid of him. So former Brown appointees are calling on the governor to commute the sentences of all 748 death row inmates in the state. I went to death row over there at Folsom Prison one time and actually saw where they used to hang them. And it was pretty cool because they used to have them watch the hanging. They had the death row, and you could see the gallows right there. But they've kind of changed that up now. It's just kind of there for memorabilia. Okay, so of the 748 inmates currently on death row, 18 have exhausted all their appeals. In other words, they spent taxpayers millions of dollars, and they shouldn't have any other options. But Brown's going to let them out, looks like. So topping the list is Harvey Heichman. Harvey raped an Oakland woman, killed her. He just couldn't rape her. He had to polish her off just before she could testify against him in 1979. So he raped her. Then they were going to go to trial. Then he went out and killed her. Said, no, you don't, right? Now in Sutter County, probably he'd have got off. Right behind him is Richard. Now, this isn't the same guy we got, Ricky Scamiola. This isn't the same guy. Same name, different mayor. This is Ricky Scamiola, who broke into a home in San Diego, beat a young mother and her toddler to death with a wrench. You know, someday he's having a bad day. He was having a bad day. So, the young mother and toddler in the way. It's like, what's the difference between beating a toddler to death and aborting one anyway, cutting them up in the womb? Not much difference. This guy had to go to prison in 1985, so he's going to get out maybe. And not to be forgotten, Taquan, like you wonder who this, Taquan Cox. Taquan Cox. It's an African name, I think. Who murdered 4 family members of a former NFL player and death penalty advocate, Kermit Alexander. Remember Kermit Alexander for the Los Angeles Rams? Well, he killed 4 of Kermit's family members and said, best of the day to you. So he got the death penalty, but he may get out. So anyway, that's our governor for us. I hope Governor Brown passes quickly once he retires. I don't have any warm feelings towards him, nor did I have any towards Governor or Senator McCain and his foolishness and his infidelity. You know, I've lived an immoral life myself, so it's like, hey, most people have, even people that come out and try to tell glad tidings what to do. Oh, we got to take a break. We'll be right back. We're going to finish up in about 29 minutes.
New meaning to the term first responders.
Fellow community members stepping forward, volunteering their time to help others faced with what might be some of the most traumatic incidents in their lives.
It's called the Trauma Intervention Program, or TIP. It's been used in communities across the United States for years, and its volunteers have been dispatched to provide what they call emotional first aid.
A collaboration between police, paramedics, fire departments, and even hospital staff is making sure residents are emotionally taken care of in a time of crisis. Residents are volunteering their time with the Trauma Intervention Program, or TIP, dispatched to the scene of a fire, accident, or death to focus focus on the emotional needs of those left behind.
It's just being there and being comforting, like a good friend or an extension of a family.
Ready to assist, sit, and listen to community members in a time of tragedy.
To learn more about the Trauma Intervention Program, visit yubasuttertip.org or call 673-9300.
We're circling the runway here and land the plane, and Tammy Reichart from the Yuba Sutter Constitutional Republicans, or conservatives, I should say, texted me a clarification on this Lavoy Finicum, which I've never got really the straight scoop on this, so I think this is it. So they meet on the fourth Thursday night of the month over there in Yuba City, but this event with the Lavoy Finicum movie is actually on September 15th at 11 a.m. So, and it's going to be they're going to show the movie. And then afterwards, the producer of the movie, Mark Herr, and the wife of Lavoy Finicum, which the movie captures his life, Jeanette Finicum, are going to be there to answer questions and provide some commentary about the whole situation. So it says here the movie delivers the true account of a genuine patriot, Lavoy Finicum, dedicated to preservation of life, liberty, and property, his stand for freedom, which ended in tragic assassination. Not the first guy that there's ever happened to, right? I mean, we have presidents killed. Martin Luther King was killed. Edgar I can't remember his name. Evers, another civil rights worker in the South, was killed. Numbers of people have been killed for standing up for good causes, right causes, for liberty, righteousness. So the title of the movie is Lavoy, Dead Man Talking. Okay? So it's put on by the Sutter Yuba instead of Yuba Sutter, Constitutional Republicans, and it's September 15th at 11 a.m. I think everybody should see that. I hope there's a variety of ways to tap into that, and I believe there's a $5 charge to get in. So it's a latte to get in, right? So 441 Bridge Street, Suite E. So check that out. This is government, typical government operation. You've seen, as you drive, remember in the old days before cell phones, there were these call boxes along freeways you could pull over and call for help, right? It's interesting how those have just continued, even though everybody and his brother, including your 3-year-old kid, has a cell phone now, right? So we're still paying for a call box. Did you think that the governor was paying for that out of his own pocket? Or Mayor Scamayoa was paying for it out of his pocket? Or Robert Bendorf was paying? No, you're paying for it. You and I are paying for it. So Verizon, who's got these call boxes up and down the freeways, they are ending their 3G cellular service. And that's what's being used in the call boxes. And so they said the emergency phones either needed to be eliminated, like take all them call boxes down, or they have to be upgraded to 4G at a cost of $1,600 per copy. I don't know what you pay for your cell phone. It'd be cheaper probably give everybody an Obama phone, right? Are we changing the name to a Trump phone? I don't know. They still call them Obama phones. So anyway, SACOG, which is one of these government bureaucracy deals, Sacramento Area Council of Governments, the recommendation is not to get rid of all of them. Get rid of some of them, most of them. Now, when occasionally I go to Vietnam, and when I get out of the airplane, if I have a problem and my contact hasn't arrived and I need to make a phone call, but I don't have the right chip in the phone because I'm now in Vietnam, or something, I haven't charged my phone, or it's in my suitcase, I just go to a Vietnamese standing in the airport and said, "Hey, can you dial me up that number, dude?" Right? I don't need somebody to pay $1,600 for a call box for me. I just ask a person, right? So, the cost in Sutter County for 12 call boxes. Let's see. Sutter County, it says, will have 12 call boxes removed from Highway 99, 113, and 70, and 28 call boxes throughout the county will be upgraded, apparently for a cost of $44,800. So we're going to upgrade 28 boxes, $44,800. In Yuba County, we're going to remove 10 call boxes along 65 and 70, and 24 call boxes will be updated at a cost of $38,400. People, you're at the same time they're asking you to pay more taxes. Is this stupid or what? Do you think if a person was broke down on the side of the road, you could pull over if they waved you down, and would you mind making a phone call for them if they did not have a cell phone or wasn't powered up? I wouldn't mind. If I knew it was going to save nearly $50,000, I'd pull over every day. I pick up hitchhikers anyway. Oh, you shouldn't pick up hitchhikers. You only have to hitchhike once and wait for hours to be picked up, and you'll pick up hitchhikers if you've ever hitchhiked, which I have. And I've walked almost all the way to Smartville before. So, out of Marysville. So I understand the plight of hitchhikers. So I pick them up, right? I enjoy it. So if I pulled over, I would gladly let my friend use my cell phone if they didn't have one, knowing that Sutter County was going to save $45,000 and Yuba County was going to save $39,000. Well, why don't we take these monies that we're so wanting to give away to Verizon and use it to fill a damn pothole or pay a cop, right? It'd be one thing if this was once a year, you'd find something stupid like this. But we just had last month, it took Francisco Ravelis, superintendent of schools of Yuba County Office of Education, finally having the courage that previous superintendents did not have to say, we're not going to pay $150,000 to $200,000 a year out of the general fund to subsidize child care at Plumas Lake. In other words, either people are going to pay enough money for their own child care. If you had sex and produced the kid, feed the damn kid yourself. Take care of the kid's child care yourself. Otherwise, give the kid to somebody else who can. Right? Why should I pay for your kid's education or food? Feed the kid yourself. Clothe the kid yourself. Get your own darn backpack. So now we got SACOG, who's another ridiculous government bureau, another level of bureaucracy trying to rule over us, dropping $45,000 in Sutter County and $39,000 in Yuba County to have call boxes. Let me just say this. This is what this article said. Just these things, honestly, I understand why people went postal. That guy went postal back in, 1978. He killed 14 and wounded 6 of his postal workers. Then a lot of postal people got the idea you could shoot people you didn't like. Happened all over the United States. Got to be kind of a craze for a while. So, what they did, you know why they removed some of the call boxes? In 1 year, they weren't even used 5 times. Weren't even used. All they were was spider baskets. You open them up and they were full of spiders in there. Weren't used 5 times, and we're paying for it as taxpayers. You know, Santa Barbara did a stupid thing. They started a deal. You know how Portland tried a deal where they would put bikes all over town, and then you could check a bike out and pay $1 or something like that. It was people just ripped off the bikes, trashed the bikes, right? So Santa Barbara scattered cars around town. And you could have a card, and you could swipe it over the windshield where a little device was. It'd read your card, open the door, charge you, and keep track of it. You could drive the car around. So then you wouldn't have to own your own car. So they'd scatter cars around in certain neighborhoods and try to keep you from buying a car and just say, go use one of the government, the people's cars. You could. Now, I always wondered, what if the guy vomited in the car and left it on the curb for somebody else? Who cleaned those cars? I don't know. It didn't answer. But do you think that would be successful? It was a horrible waste of money. It was a horrible waste of money. Why? Because private sector has things like Lyft and Uber, where a person, if they want to, they just pay what they want. They don't need to clean the car. They can fart in the car, then get out and leave that smell in there and the money, right? They could just leave it all trashed. They could puke in the car, pee in the car, and get out and pay the money, and they can move on, right? And not get charged. And yet, the city, this is why government should never go into business, because most people work for government. They couldn't run a successful business if their life depended on it. They just don't know how to do it, right? And they don't want to pay the penalty to lose. So it's easy for people like the city council of Marysville to go 5 acres of that Ellis Lakefront property and spend $17 million. We got to pay $17 million for 5 acres. It's over there vacant right now, right? Just south of the Gold Sox Park. It's right up against the railroad track. Oh, it's a great piece of property, right? Try putting apartments there and listen to that train vibrate through your kitchen every day. $17 million. Oh, well, we don't focus. Oh, Lou, you're just so negative. You just always focus on the past. I'm not into focusing on the past. You pay the bill. The bill's going to be lasting. The $17 million payment's going to be long. The $17 million payment is going to outlast Lou. Lou is going to be long gone, is going to be dust. And that bill is going to still be paid by somebody from Marysville, long past the Ricky Scamayoa who voted for it, and all those city council people, and all those people walked away with their money in their pocket. All the city council members that walked away with their money in their pocket. So Santa Barbara bought all these vehicles and put them all around town at different locations, and you could just swing in there and use one if you didn't have a vehicle. Isn't this unbelievable? Who comes up with these ideas? So now we're supporting these call boxes, and you think, oh, well, just the government of the United States, it's such an efficient deal. What a wonderful thing. Oh, I got to tell you about, it's called, what's they call that thing? Zip car. They call them zip cars. Oh, what a wonderful idea. Yeah, just another way to suck your money, right out of your pocket. Did you know, God bless Trump, you know, Trump, he could cure cancer. He could cause water to come out of a rock. He could cause the crops to multiply. You know, the tonnage off peach orchards to be 3 times that, he'd still be cursed. He's eliminated the pay raise for federal employees. And everybody is screaming. Did you know that Obama actually did the same thing? But they didn't scream about it when he did it. So he put the kibosh. Did you know that government employees get raises just because they breathe and they show up for work once in a while? So he didn't stop the raises he gave the military, just non-military government employees. He just said, hey, we can't afford it. It's interesting. It's refreshing to have a government official say, we can't afford that. We're not going to, yeah. Maybe you worked your fingers to the bone. I mean, I know government workers that are wonderful, hardworking. I admire them. They're very hard workers. In the Yuba County Jail, I know a lot of them. I'm there all the time. I get to see their work. They're impressive, right? But if you can't afford to give a raise, you can't afford. I mean, I've worked for almost 3 decades out there at Glad Tidings. There were times I sat in leadership meetings. We just said we can't get a raise. It's just like, hey, we can't afford to do health insurance anymore. There was a difficult choices, but we had to keep the whole thing afloat. Thank God today it's still afloat. So, but we have a problem. Trump been working on getting rid of employees as well. Did you know we had employees that watched pornography during the day? Did you know that? Do you know we have employees that don't go to work, but they take a vacation, but everybody thinks they're working because somebody, They say they're working for the CIA or something. They make up an excuse. Did you know that? That guy that worked for the CIA? He claimed he worked for the CIA. He worked for the EPA, but he said, hey, I'm really working undercover for the CIA, so when I'm not here, you just fill in my name. I'm good, right? So Trump says what we need to do is have merit raises. Oh, my God, based on merit? That isn't fair. The whole private industry is based on merit. You get a raise if you're doing a good job, right? Teachers, no, we want raises whether our kids can read or not. The teachers in the Marysville Joint Unified School District can't even produce a product that's worthy of a raise, but they get a raise just by showing up to work and breathing, right? So the other thing I mentioned that I could see Santos was shocked that Trump is cracking down on, let's see, he revised existing rules so that the time an employee under review has to show improved performance is reduced from 60 to 120 days. He's working out ways to fire people. The second act reviews federal agencies to renegotiate union contracts with an eye towards cost savings. And this is the one that Santos couldn't believe. It's designed to reduce the amount of time federal workers can spend on union business. The official said on a conference call report it aimed to limit the non-agency work of federal employees to 25% of their time. A quarter of their time, they do not have to even do their job. They can just run around and protest. Isn't that amazing? You're paying for that. I'm paying. And then they want you to pay another % sales tax. Unbelievable. And they're buying call boxes. They can do union activity on company time. It's unbelievable. We're coming back next week. I don't know what kind of show. We're going to have a show. I don't know. Are we pre-recording? We're going to live. We're going to have a live show next week. That's what the big shot says right across the glass from me.